Alright, so if you want to go ahead and get signed on, go to Kahoot.it, type in the game pin, and then just go ahead and put any kind of nickname.
Any kind?
Any kind, whatever you want. School appropriate is usually what we say, but since we're not in school today.
Just covering my bases.
I think we should have about 21 people getting signed on. So today I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to go through 3 different review games online that I use in my classroom. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the pros and cons of each one that I have found. This is my first time presenting anything like this, so if I'm shaking, I apologize. So all 3 of these sites that we're going to be doing is, they're all free. So that's like the best thing about every single one of them is it's free. All you have to do is put your email in and create a password, and you're logged in for the rest of your life if you want. So this first one is Kahoot. It's an individual-based game system. And it's really easy to sign on. Kids, if they have a phone or if they have a computer, doesn't matter which one, tablet, anything like that, they just go to Kahoot.it, enter the game pin, put in a nickname. Like I said, I usually say school-appropriate nicknames are required. But so that's kind of what it looks like. Did everyone get in? Okay, and so then all we do is we just go ahead and start, and it's just going to run you through the different questions. So the topic of this one is just going to be Halloween. So you'll see on your screen there should be these 4 options. So you've got to look up at the screen, read the question, figure out which one you want, and then you click on it. It is a speed-based game, so the quicker you click on the answer, the more points you're going to get. Each time you can have up to 1,000 points. And that's one downfall for this is the timer. It has to have some sort of timer on it. So whether it's 30 seconds or 60, 90, or 120, it's got to have some kind of time on it. So if you do have a student, if you're doing math problems, and you have a student that needs a little more time, because it doesn't give them that time to do the problem. It is really nice if you just want to do like math fluency and just like your math facts. So we can see him read. And that annoying music that you heard at the beginning, that's with this too. So if you have it on your computer, then you mute your computer before you get started, unless your kids really like that. So if you notice on the bottom of the screen, it still has the site and the game pin, so if any of your kids get logged out, they can always get back in. Our purple circle, that's how much time you have left, and they tell you how many people have answered over on the other side.
Look at the picture.
That was trying to scare you. Oh yeah, they're trying to confuse you, aren't they?
That was not very because
is that what you did?
yeah, some of them don't read questions.
And so this one that we're going through right now, I did not create this one. So one thing I really like about all 3 of these sites is that you don't have to create each game. Somebody has already created a game, and you can go through and look at their game and decide if you like it or not. But you can, if you use a certain vocab words or lingo or anything like that, you can make your own games as well. I think we just have 2 more questions.
else, or whatever their names are.
And there's also the skip feature. Oops. So there's a skip feature here too, so that if you, I've had before where all my students are already answered, but for whatever reason it didn't move on to the next one. So you can hit the skip button and it'll just move to the next question as well. So at the end it gives you your podium, and it gives you your rankings, and also I believe on your screen it can go ahead and students can rate your Kahoots as if they liked it, they thought it was helpful or not. So that's just the game setup of Kahoot. And here's what it looks like for me. So you can go in here and you can search any topic that you want. So if you want to do equations, you can search it. And there'll be a bunch of different Kahoots already set up for you. So if you can click on them, then it goes through, it shows you the problems and the answers. So you can decide what you want there. A couple other things that I really like about Kahoot is it doesn't always have to be live like this. You can go ahead and make it a challenge. So if I make this a challenge, I can set it for how long I want it to. So if I say, hey kids, we're gonna create a challenge for the full week, I can create it on Monday and say we're gonna be done on Friday, and then go from there. So it's just fun to create that challenge in your classroom. And it is Google Classroom compatible, which is awesome. We use Google Classroom all the time, so my kids know just to go right into Google Classroom and they find everything there. So that's one thing I really like about my Kahoot. Other things, so these are all the Kahoots that I've done before. You can make duplicates of them and take out certain questions that you don't like. So some of them, I thought like the questions were a little too hard for my 7th graders, so I took them out and created my own. The only thing I don't like about the Kahoot and the ones you have saved is it doesn't organize it for you. So these are for 7th through 8th. It doesn't work. I don't have like a folder just for my 7th graders, or a folder just for my 8th grade, or a folder for like different chapters. So that's one thing I really don't like about Kahoot in comparison to some of the other ones. Kahoot does have different kinds of games, I guess. So if I go to equations, if we type in types, we can have a quiz, which is what you guys just did, a discussion, or a survey, which I haven't done those very much, or a jumble. So this is our jumble one, and I'm just going to go ahead. If someone would sign on real quick, then you guys can see what it looks like. Or actually, we can go to preview. So if you also want to preview the game, you could, and it'll set up like this. So it gives you a phone on your screen. One other thing is that besides the jumble, so if you did like a quiz like we just did, you can do a team mode, which puts people together. The only problem with that is it's only one device. So I could be on a team with 3 other people, but we're all just using this one device. So then it kind of gets to be where one person's doing all the work. So I usually use just the classic one. And underneath that there was different game options, so if you wanted to make sure the pin was showing all the time, anything like that, you could go ahead and do that. So, so this is called a jumble. And I really like it for sequence when you're doing procedural things, because when I have an absolute value inequality like this, it tells me the steps I need to go through instead. So if I look here, I'm going to say the first step I need to do is add 21 to both sides, so they'd have to put that one first. Then we'd have to go ahead and divide, so we put the blue next. Then their saying is divide and conquer. So if you had a different saying about how you split up your inequalities, you could go ahead and create your own. And then the last one is our answer. So it gives them the option, and they have to go through each step. And they hit the center, and it takes them through it. So I really like this when I'm teaching students about equations or inequalities for the first time, and they have to go through those steps.
What was that called?
This one's called Jumble.
jumble.
Yeah, it's part of the Kahoot, it's just in a different part of it. So it works better for things like this. What we did before, it wouldn't work as well. So one more time, if you go back just to find a Kahoot, and you just type in anything that you want. Right underneath here, it says all Kahoot types. You click that, and then if you press jumble, it'll just go to just those ones. So if you specifically want that capability, you're going to click that, and then these are all the different kinds that they have.
And you're searching them now, but you can create a jumble
Yes.
yourself.
Yep, so I'm searching right now, but you can create anything you want. So if you go to the top of your screen, it says New K, and you can go ahead and you can choose between a quiz, a jumble, discussion, and a survey. I'm really big on, if somebody else has already created it, I'm just going to go ahead and use theirs, as long as it goes with what we're doing. So that's what I have for Kahoot. Do I have any other questions on the Kahoot? Okay, I think I'll go pretty quick through the other ones, so then we'll have some time to work with these at the end. The next one that I have, do you guys want to do a like Halloween one, or do you want to stick with the math ones? I assume math, okay. So this next one is called Quiz, and the kids really like it when I say we're doing a quiz today. But so it's the same aspect that you're going to, students are going to play. There's two different options here as well. You can play live just like we did with the Kahoot, or it can be in homework. So if I hit homework, it'll tell me when I want it to be due. And it also, one thing I really like about these is that it gives you the different options. So like on this one, it has a question timer. I can turn that off. So if I have students that need more time to do a problem, I can go ahead and turn that off so they can have as much time at each problem that they want. I like this one too because you can turn off the music, which is really nice. But so once I do this homework, I can hit proceed. And then once again, I can go ahead, you can enter the game code, and you guys could do it here, or you can go through Google Classroom, which I use all the time. So I just click my class that I have, and they get posted on Google Classroom. So what it looks like on Google Classroom, so this is what it would look like on my Google Classroom. It's just going to say quiz game, and then you can put any instructions underneath it that you want. The kids just click it, and it takes them directly there. So they don't even have to put the code in or anything. They can just go from there. So that's one thing I like. It's the exact same setup as Kahoot when you play it live, except you can go ahead and change these. One thing that I really like about this one compared to the other ones is that, or compared to Kahoot, is it is go at your own pace kind of thing instead. So I'll have students that everyone's playing, and one might get done right away, and they're fine, but the person standing next to them just keeps going. So, so everyone gets their time to do it. So one thing that I do like about this is that we can make collections instead. So this does filter out, and I can make different folders for everything that I have. So I went ahead and I made a folder for my Algebra 2 kid, or my Algebra kids, for Chapter 2, Inequalities. So I went ahead and I put the 5 different sections that we had in here, and I was able to actually share that with them. It's a good study set for them that they can use to go back to and play it. But that's one thing I like about quizzes quite a bit. So it's very similar to Kahoot. But in this one, it's nice because you can create your own collections with it.
Unlike Kahoot, are there ones already made that
Yep.
you can just use?
So if we want to go to equations, oops, I've got to go to all. So I can go to all quizzes, go for equations, and they have them set up here. So yeah, so all 3 of these, there's already a bunch already set up, and you can go in and you can say we want this one, we can assign this one. Or just like Kahoot, we could duplicate it, we could take some of the questions out, put our own questions in. So it's kind of make it your own kind of thing.
It kind of shows where it shows grade level. Is there any way you can search specifically by grade level or by subject area?
That's a very good question. Right here, yeah, you could go grade level. So if we want just middle school, it'll change the grade level for you. I don't know about like subject matter, if it does that or not. Usually all I do is I type in the concept that I want them to know, and I find ones from those. Other questions on your quizzes? All right, then the last one that I have is Quizlet, and this is my favorite one for a couple reasons. The first reason is that it has these different options on it, which makes it a really good study set. So students can go in, they can do the flashcards. So they can do this on their own. They don't have to do, it doesn't have to be a game system or anything like that. So if they're at home and they're trying to study for their algebra test, they can go ahead and go on here. It gives them the problem. They go ahead and do the problem. Once they click it, it shows them the answers on the other side. So it's really like they already have their flashcards already made out for them. Another one I like on here is the matching. So this would be really good for like your fact fluency as well. It times you, and then you have to match up the answers with the problems. So if you were working on just trying to do their multiplication facts, this would be a good one to get them to go quick. And then the last one that we have is the live. I noticed this the other day. So sometimes with the Quizlets, they put the questions on the wrong side and vice versa. So they have these 2 options to where it can take the terms and the definitions or the definition and the terms. The only problem with that is that you've got to pay extra for it. So why don't we go ahead and try this. So if you go to www.quizlet.live and you type in the code 607280, you can go ahead and get signed on. One thing that I really like about the quizzes and the Quizlet is that it just asks for a name rather than a nickname. I've had problems before with my kids for the Kahoot when they put a nickname in. It's not always school appropriate, or it gets really political in my classroom, and so I don't really care for that. But the nice thing is you can, in all 3 of these, you can go in, you can click someone's name, and it'll knock them out, and they have to create a new name. So that's the downside of Kahoot as well. But this will get in, and what I really like about my Quizlets, with my other 2 websites, it's all individual. So students are always working on their own, which is good sometimes. But the Quizlets is really nice because once we go ahead and get started, it's going to split you guys up into teams. And so you've got to go with your team, and everybody has different answers on their computer. So if you have those students that kind of sit in the back and they don't do anything, this kind of gets them out of that, and they can't do that because it makes them accountable for their team. So we'll see here in just a sec. It's a lot easier if you can just see it. Am I missing anybody? Also with this one that I like is that there's not a time limit with, like on the quizzes one. It takes as much time as you need, as much as time as your whole group needs as well. Do we have everybody on now? No. So once we do get this going, you are going to have to get up and get with your group. So it is really nice to, so whatever device you're using, make sure you're taking that with you. And this is over inequalities, so you might want to scratch a piece of paper. All right, are we good now? Is everybody on? All right, so there you go. They went ahead and they split you up into teams. So you're going to have to talk Figure out where your team is. A lot of times I'll tell people, okay, all of my alpacas go back here, tigers here, just like that.
Team unicorn.
Halloween.
Team unicorn. All right.
Let's go back to your table.
Stingray. Nice. I'm Tara. Devin. Okay, do you want to do this one? Perfect.
Did everybody find their team? Missing one. Stingrays are missing one. You're right here. They might what? Oh, doing it online. Gotcha. Okay. So a lot of times when I do this as well, because I know especially middle schoolers like to move kind of slow through the classroom. So I usually give them a time limit. I usually say, okay, you got 30 seconds. You better get with your team because we're going to go. So once they're with their team, then you can go ahead and get started. This is what it'll look like up on the board. Everyone else will have the problem on your computer. And you'll notice you'll have 3 different sections. And it has the answers on there. So if you're looking at it, you can see what answers you have compared to what answers your partners have.
Well, it's only one right answer on all of our screens. So it's 2x minus 3 is greater than 10, 2x minus 3 is less than negative 2. Yeah.
Not really doing much.
Only one of us has.
So you're supposed to select in.
So it's a half of 13, so it's, I got no idea. Nothing.
So if you've clicked the wrong answer, you'll notice that it'll show you the correct answer, and then it's going to bring up a brand new problem, and it's going to give you brand new answers on your screen. You're not going to be with the exact same answers of your time. Where's my alpacas? So congrats, okay? So a couple things that I like to do as well. Sometimes I don't put the leaderboard up on the screen. Otherwise, students just focus on that and they say, we're this much behind. There's no way we're going to get it, and they'll just give up. So sometimes I do that. Also, once you get done, it goes through and it tells you like the ones that you had problems on the most compared to other ones. So I find that to be good to go back through once we're done with this and say, okay, a lot of us, we made a mistake on these problems, so let's go ahead and figure out where we made those mistakes. So a lot of things, couple things that you could have noticed when you're going through that. If your team gets a wrong answer, it'll show up with the correct answer, and then it will give you a brand new problem and give you brand new answers. So you're not going to have the exact same 3 answers if you miss problems. It's going to shuffle them all up again. Sometimes if we have, like if I do something like this and I don't want kids to work together, we do what I call a silent Quizlet, and students just stay at their own desk. We give them, so if we wanted to play again, I would shuffle their teams, and we'd start again, and I'd make it silent. So you're not sitting with your team anymore. You're working on your own, and you're accountable because you have to do the problem and answer it. Otherwise, your team is just at a standstill. So that's another thing that I like to do. Yeah, they don't like it as much, but it is nice. So from here, this was just where, so I just was here. I hit live. And then you guys were in. Sorry, I totally took you out. You were in, and there's a little button right next to the start that says Shuffle Teams. And I just hit Shuffle, and I shuffled and shuffled until I shuffle like 5 times. And then students they're not on the same teams anymore. They're all by themselves in different spots, and they've got to work independently to advance their teams. So it's just what I call a silent Quizlet. It's not any other aspect with the Quizlet. but yeah, so that's another way you can use it. With this, you have to have at least 6 players in. So with your other two, your Kahoot and your quizzes, it didn't matter how many players you had in. You could have 1 and you could get it going. Here you have to have 6, so you got to make sure that your class size is bigger than that. Also, you could go ahead, so here, this also sets up my classes. So I've got an hour 2 and an algebra class on there right now. Or you can create folders. So here's my folder for my Chapter 2 algebra kids. And what's really nice about this is that I can go ahead and hit share through Google Classroom. And then it's going to put it on their Google Classroom, and it's going to stay there so they can find it whenever. So all they have to do is go to their Google Classroom, click on this, and it brings them to the study sets that I created for them, or that I put together for them, and then they can click on whatever one they want, and they can use the flashcards or the matching or the gravity. So I really like that because then it allows them to go ahead and get in and out whenever they want. My 8th grade algebra kids really like this because they do a lot of their own studying at home, and they don't have to worry about trying to collaborate with anyone on that.
So you mentioned a minimum of 6 players, but that's only for like the Quizlet?
That's only if you're doing live. Yep, so if I'm going to do live, I have to have 6 people playing. Any of these other options that you have right here, you don't need. You can do all of those individually. So the only thing I didn't show you was the gravity because it's very particular. You have to type it in exactly the way that they have it. So like here you can see I have the answer, so I'd have to type the problem in. And that could be a wide range of problems that we could have for that. So most of the time we don't use the gravity in here. Do we have a question back there?
You have to have 12 terms too.
Yes,
For
yeah.
Quizlet Live, so that's something just to keep in mind that if you don't have 12 terms,
Then you
and
can't
6
play.
kids.
So what she says, you had to have 12 terms. You don't have to have 12 terms in order to do these other ones, but you do have to have 12 terms or 12 problems to do the live. If you have more than 12 problems, so like here we had 20, it only picks 12 of them. So then if we wanted to play it again, it's going to pick another 12. So you could have different problems every single time when you play it. So the more questions you have, the more times you can play it without the repeat with it. And I think I got through everything. Does anybody have any questions on any of these 3? It's a lot easier once you get on the website and you get going through it than it is someone just trying to tell you how to use it every time. So, and I'll be here this afternoon, so if you do have any other questions or want help creating collections or anything like that, I can help you with that. All right, so I'm a 3rd-year teacher, and my first year that I had a sub, I left this huge lesson plan, and I thought, they're going to get through, the sub's going to get through it all, they're going to teach it, I'm going to come back the next day, and we're going to be ready to go. I was very optimistic, and not exactly how it went. So this year we went 1-to-1, and I came across Edpuzzle, and it's a website, once again free, you just have to go ahead and create your own account, but that you can create your own videos for. So like today, since I'm gone, I went ahead and I already created a lesson on so I already created a lesson for my students that I'm missing today. So my 8th grade algebra, we're just doing an introduction for functions. So I went ahead and I created a video that would be my lesson if I was there teaching it. So a couple ways that I do this is I have online, I use Mimeo, and so I just go ahead and I pull up my Mimeo board. I'm just going to pull up a random one for you. And I pull it up on Mimeo, maybe. And then I don't know if anybody uses Mimeo. But there's like a Mimeo pad, so I can carry a pad around and it lets me write on there and everything. So I use that pad and I go ahead and I just go through my lesson, and here's some of the descriptions that I had on here. So I use that pad, I write on there, and I just use QuickTime. And I just, instead of actually taking a video like with a camera of me, because I really hate it when I'm on camera, I like it, I do a screenshot of my computer instead. So I just go new screen recording. I can adjust the volume, which can kind of be tricky. I found that out the hard way. And then I just start recording, and I talk through each slide just like I would if I was actually in front of the classroom with my students. So I work through every slide, anything that I have on there that I need. So like here we were talking about reflections. I made sure to explain everything with reflections. And once you have that done, all you have to do is you have to upload your video to Edpuzzle. And then you can edit it how you'd like. So this was a video that I just went ahead and I uploaded. If you get it perfect the first time and you don't have to do any editing, that's awesome. But I always edit it. And so what you can do on the editing feature is that you can decide when it starts and when it doesn't. So if, say I didn't really start talking until like 10 seconds in, I can go ahead and make my video start 10 seconds in instead. And say that at the end of it, you see me, so like I don't want the students to see this part of the screen and me getting out of the recording. So you can cut it how you'd like. You can also work with the audio, tracks, and notes. I don't really use that. I just started using Edpuzzle, so I don't know everything about it yet, but I don't use either of those things. But my last thing that I do like is the questions. So throughout my lesson, I go ahead and I make sure to find where I want my questions at. So I do a couple problems on here. Then I have it so that somewhere right in here. Sorry, there should be problem. There we go. So there's these 4 problems. I ask the students to try those on their own. So I can create a question. And so there's 3 different ways you can do that. This first one is just to pose the question, and they will respond to you. This one, you could actually write the question, and then, so like on this one, I just want them to tell me if it's a function or not a function. So I would just type that in there, and then in here, I just put like 1 yes, here 1 no. And so then my students go through and they click on what they think it is. So if they think that first one is a function, they'd click on this. And what I like about the multiple choice option is it gives them direct feedback after. So as soon as they hit submit, they know right away if it was a function or if it wasn't a function. So I really like that. So I can put questions throughout, I can finish, and I can submit it. So what I've done, so I already have this one done. If I go back to my other puzzles. So I have all of my classes on here. I've really worked with this with both my 8th grade math and 8th grade algebra. And they both respond, they love this. They said they love that they can pause the video and write down their notes and come back to it. Or if they didn't get it and they need to watch it over again, they can always go back in and watch the video again. So I try to tell them to use that resource that, you know, if you didn't get something, why don't you rewind the video? Why don't we look at it again and then come back to it? And if you still don't get it, then I can help you with it. But I really like that. A couple different aspects of it too is that you can do prevent skipping. So if you want your students to watch the entire video, you can make it so they can't skip ahead. They can always go backwards, but they can never skip ahead. So right now is my 8th grade algebra kids. So that also tells you the progress. So I went ahead and I assigned my lesson for today. So they just got done, or they have about 17 minutes left of class. So it'll let me go in and it'll let me look at their progress. So it tells me who's watched the video, who hasn't watched the video, how they did on the questions from it. So as you can see, a lot of them only got half of them right. So it tells me, hey, I'm going to have to go back tomorrow And we're going to have to discuss what a function is or figure out like why they had that, why they didn't get the right answers there. So it's nice that you can go back in and you can look at those. But yeah, they really like that they can go ahead and they can go at their own pace and they don't have to wait for everybody. Also, I've had a lot more 8th graders raise their hand and ask questions because they don't have to ask in front of everybody. They just raise their hand and I come over to them and I answer any question that they have. So it really gets away from them feeling uncomfortable asking a question in front of the whole class. It is Google Classroom. You can bring your whole class in through Google Classroom. So I just go ahead and I post it. As you can tell, a lot more of them are done than what they say. So they can mark it as done as soon as they get done. But yeah, so then I have the different videos and so they can go back to any of these videos that they want. So if they need to study for a test and they totally forgot how to do translations, they can go back and watch it at home without me. So just a short little snippet about Edpuzzle. Like I said, I'm just starting with Edpuzzle still. I don't know everything about it, but I could answer any questions that you might have.
Do they do everything in class, or is homework still on their own thing? How's that handled?
Yeah, so I think another reason why my students like it a lot is because it takes less time for them to get through a lesson, so then they get started with their homework in class. Right now, I just have it so it's in class. They do the lesson, and then we get started with the homework. I would love to change it so it's a flip. So their homework would be they watch the video, and then they come to class and we go through the homework instead. But my classes just aren't quite there yet. So.
And did you say that sorry.
Go ahead. Finish.
Okay.
You're right.
Do you do one lesson a day, or do you have kids all over the place? Did you say that?
No, so we're not self-paced. So everybody in 8th grade algebra right now, all 15 of them are watching this function video.
You mentioned QuickTime, but another one, if you don't have QuickTime, would be Screencast-O-Matic, Google extension, Google Chrome extension. Sorry, Screencast is fine. So if you don't have the native QuickTime features, or if your kids don't have it either, they can use this.
So is it just compatible with certain video things? Like he mentioned that as long as it comes in as like a QuickTime or something like that, you can use that video?
I think as long as you just record on anything, you can upload it on there. So if you wanted to like take a camera and take a video through that and then send it to you, I'm pretty sure you should still be able to upload it on there. Any other questions?
Video from YouTube or anything, or there's some already in there saved?
I'm not sure. I haven't looked through it a ton. I don't know if there are saved. You can go find your own.
Academy. There's a link that you can go to search, and you can search what ones, like those are all the databases on the left, and then also other ones that people have created. You can even use their videos and you can change the questions or delete questions. You can look through. So you can either find a video from those databases, or you can find a video that's already been put through Edpuzzle with questions already in them.
So the reason that I go ahead and do my own videos is just because I had students do Khan Academy, watch a Khan Academy video, and it was a little different from how we do it in our classroom, and they were completely lost. So it was nice to show them how we do it as well, and kind of bridge that gap before we show them another way to do it.